What is going on today, ladies and gentlemen? This is Joe's Gunpla Garage, and today we're going to go over a video that I wanted to do a little bit before showcasing some of my better builds. I wanted to go over my worst builds, and right here we have the Sazabi, the real grade Sazabi. Now what happened was a lot of people in my real grade ranking videos said that they didn't find my Sazabi to be very ugly. Well, here's why, and you can see this a lot primarily on this skirt here. Right there is pretty bad. Some even got on the visor itself. But I used a Dremel and kind of polished that a little bit, so it got a little fixed. But this Sazabi was clear coated in not good conditions. So the humidity was too high, so this has frosted over. This is why it kind of looks like it's been snowed on right here. And I have to film this very carefully because my studio lights tend to capture this frosting effect and hide it just a little bit. Yeah, you can see it there. It's all over like the raised areas of this kit. Right here is really bad. So that's what makes this kit one of my ugliest builds, and it's definitely on my list of kits to retire and replace, especially because we have all this truss framing in here on the Sazabi that I want to go through and paint. I really just want to take my time with this kit and give it like a full once over. I mean, look at all this detail here in the shield. You can do so much with that. Here we have this real grade Epon, and I know what you're thinking is that, Joe, this doesn't look terrible. Well, what I have on here is a set of G rework decals, and it's this type of metallic type of silver. So the clear coat I typically used was Krylon 1311 matte clear. This isn't a model or hobby type of matte clear. This is like an arts and crafts type of matte clear. Unfortunately, what it does, what Krylon 1311 does, is it sprays really hot, and it led to a lot of crackings. But we can see it here too. We got all this spider webbing throughout this whole wing. And it just looks really bad. Did look perfect, everything was great, and then I cleared it and noticed all this spider webbing on these decals, and I got so disappointed. So I do actually have another Epon and another set of G rework decals to replace this. It's not terrible, but it's not to the standards that I want or to what I'm able to build now, so I'm really disappointed with it, and I don't really like it being on my shelf, and I plan on rebuilding and replacing it. Speaking of old and ugly, we have this Zaku 3 here. This is a fully painted build that I did a couple winters ago. And as you can see, I kind of went a little crazy with pla plate all over the place. And it's definitely over the top. Like, I didn't use properly sized pla here or there. We can see where it's definitely just a little bit too thick. It's just a little too ridiculous. I also scribed this. This was kind of like a scribing template for me. And I copied what the scribe lines looked like on the Gundam Battle Operation 2 render art. So what this kit was this was a full custom build. I kind of wanted to do like a unicorn based one, so I went with those more unicorn looking colors. I broke this antenna up here. I have no idea how that broke, where it broke, or where it went to, but I was disappointed about that when I figured that out. But once again, we had another clear coat issue. This must still be Krylon 1311, but the Krylon ate all of my paint, and it's spider webbed a lot. So this is a very amateur build. I was super bummed about this because it was a full painted build, and then I saw this whole finish and how it came out, and I was just so disappointed with it. So I really don't like this Zaku 3 at all. It was a nice attempt at trying some scribing, as well as my first time ever using pla plate, and I went a little too heavy with it. So this is on the list of things to replace and do something similar again, but keep it a little more low-key and balanced. This is just a little too ridiculous, and the spider webbing really killed it. So that is why this Zaku 3 is one of my worst builds. I think many of you will get a kick out of this one. This is the very first kit I built back in 2013. This is a real grade Zeta that is in Wave Rider mode. You might have recognized this from my real grade ranking video, and you'll notice this ugly smudging garbage that is all over it, as well as these dark lines here and all throughout the whole kit. This is really just looks terrible. I mean, look at how dark this panel line is down here. It's really not good. But I had no idea what panel lining was or what weathering was. I watched a couple YouTube tutorial guides and said, oh, I can do that, and went to Hobby Lobby. I got some type of pour type Sharpie, and that's what I used for this panel lining, and that's why it's so thick and disgusting. And then I went crazy with this thing with the Dremel. I dremeled all sorts of battle damage on it and then tried smudging, and it just looks absolutely abysmal. It does not look good. The weathering looks terrible. So this just sits on my shelf in Wave Rider mode because I don't want to transform it again. But it's got sentimental value because it's the kit that got me back into Gunpla like full time. It's just going to stay there forever as like a memento of where I started and how far I've come. And that's kind of why I'm doing this video, is to show you that I started with this and then went to much better builds. But I also don't want to show off my better builds without merit. That is why we're starting off with my worst builds. That's why I'm showing off my worst builds. Here's the 00 Quan, also from the Real Grade ranking video, and someone has already noticed in the comments that I clear coated the clear parts, which look abysmal. They look so bad. Like, this looks terrible. This looks terrible. So I'm not really being hard on myself. Like, the clear coat ate into this plastic. This is even frosted, and it just does not look good at all. You can clearly see it in the shot in the Real Grade ranking video where I have the back shot with the cape on the back. You can see just how awful it looks. What I like to do is when I hone my skills and realize, hey, I could have built that Quan better, I like to do a skill checkpoint. So I built this 2017, I want to say I built this in 2017. And then I built this full saber in 2022. And as we can see, it looks a lot better. The clear parts are actually clear and not matte cleared, and the finish of the kit is better, and we can actually see into the Quan there and see the 00. It's hard to tell with the ring light there, but it looks a lot better compared to what I started with and where I'm at now. Here is my Real Grade Exia from the Real Grade ranking video, and a lot of people said, why is the Exia ugly? Well, it's missing a piece there on the top of the head. It's also been with me through 4 moves. I've moved homes with this thing 4 times. And in that time, it's been jostled around in boxes. People have moved those boxes not very nicely. So this thing has just been jostled around and kind of beat on, if you will. So this Exia, I really only called it ugly because it's missing pieces, and the clear really screwed up these clear pieces of the kit itself. But this is all learning stuff. This is all stuff you learn as you build kits. Now I know if I was to do an Exia now, I wouldn't even put this on. I wouldn't even put this or the sticker on until it was matte coated, and then I would put the sticker and then that on. That way I would know, hey, it's a clear piece, leave it clear, it's supposed to be clear. And if I really wanted to, I could gloss coat it with quick shine, and that would make it look a lot better. The Real Grade Destiny, another ugly build, and it's also frosted. Like, look at how white the heels are on this. Like, that's supposed to be red, and that almost looks pink based on how frosted it is. This is another frosty kit that's been needing to be replaced. It's just ugly, it's old, it's floppy. It could be fixed, realistically, but that would mean disassembling the whole thing and then repainting it all, removing the stickers, and it's just a lot of work. So I'll probably use it for kit bash fodder, take the weapons and all the good bits, and then just kit bash it after I find and determine what parts are good and what parts are bad, because I already know this part's bad, and if this one's bad, there's probably others close behind it. Here's a kit that had a bad reaction to some clear coat. The finish on this Amatsu Mina is absolutely atrocious. It's spotty. It kind of looks like felt. It doesn't even look like it's been matte cleared. This is another one of my very, very ugly builds that I don't particularly care for. I would like to replace this and maybe do some modifications to fix these lobster claws. Thinking about putting a lot of weight somewhere in the legs, or at least the toes. That should help maintain its balance better rather than falling backwards the whole time. I also screwed up assembling this lobster claw. Not a build I particularly liked, but I do not like having a kit that's this ugly in my collection, so I am going to replace this. But the bad clear coat, I pulled a can from my drawer, and it must have just been an old can, because this is just I don't know what this reaction is other than not good. I show you guys these builds because when I show off a good build like this Hiyakushiki, at least I think it's good. This is a Hiyakushiki, a high-grade Revive Hiyakushiki, which I painted in gold with some quick shine. And I'm gonna do this same type of finish to a real grade Akatsuki. I kind of like this finish better than the gold chrome, but I would use a different gold. This is G-Paint Pure Gold. I would probably use a Gaia Notes Gold. And this is all G-Rework decals on this. And I think this is a pretty nice looking Hiyakushiki, but I wanted to show that this is like the type of quality that I put out now, and I wanted to show where I came from. So when we take a look at an ugly build like this compared to this one, like it is possible to go from this to this. It just takes honing your skills and honestly just sitting around in forums and discords and just soaking up all the information that you can soak up. So thank you all for journeying with me while I took a quick peek at my worst builds and explained to you where I screwed up on each of these. Although this Epon, that wasn't necessarily a me screw up, that was just the metallic finish of the decals not reacting correctly with the 1311. I've used 1311 Krylon on so many kits. This was the first one that had this issue, and then I went down a rabbit hole of looking at clear coats. So this one's not necessarily my fault. It's also not G-Rework's fault either. The rest of these are all my fault. And a lot of the time it ends up with me screwing up in the 11th hour. So a piece of Gunpla advice I have for you all is to take a step back and take your time. If you feel like you're rushing a build, take a step back, take a look, evaluate where you're at, and determine if you're on the right track. And you also learn through experience. Like through the Sazabi, I learned, hey, don't clear over the clear pieces. I also learned that with this Quan. With the Destiny, I learned, hey, you got this frosting by spraying in not good conditions. For the Zaku 3, I learned, hey, dummy, slow it down when you're customizing a little bit, and maybe keep it a little more tasteful and compact and in scale. With the Amatsu Mina, I learned, hey, don't trust old cans of clear coat, just toss it and go buy another one. For this Exia, I learned pack your things better when you're moving. So there's all different types of lessons we can learn through all of our failures here. And eventually, when you put your mind to it, you work real hard and you slow down and pay attention, you can get things like this Real Grade 2.0 painted in G3 colors. So thank you for tuning into this video. I hope to see you in the next one. This was just a fun little kind of secondary video to explain why I thought some of these builds were so ugly in the Real Grade ranking video. If these more low-key videos are something you're interested in, let me know. These are definitely something I could cook up. Maybe you wanted to see something from my collection, or maybe just a build overview where like, hey, I built this Amatsu Mina, this is where I screwed up, next time, you know, yada yada. Things like that. Until the next video, stay safe, have fun, and happy building.